File, New, Application, and choose the default application. We're going to name this particular application Marx Furniture, M-A-R-X. Now that it is so named, go ahead and click Create, and then WebLogic will create all the necessary files for us to continue. Okay, now that the application is configured and set up, we'll go ahead and click on the Marx Furniture Web, and we'll click on controller.jpf. Well, you're already familiar with what the controller does, so it's just going to go ahead and read the file and create the necessary actions that we're going to use. Now, just a bit of a review. In the last lesson, we go ahead and click the Run or Start button. Now, what that does, this is a part of the WebLogic write and deploy mechanism. What happens here is when you do that, if that application has not been deployed yet, it'll go ahead and create all the necessary XML descriptors, deploy it to the WebLogic application server, and then run it for you. So it's a write and deploy. In the past, we used to have to write those by hand in order to deploy to the WebLogic server in order to have it run. What the workshop does is it provides all of that for you automatically. There's no errors, which, believe me, in an XML file you can always have a missed character and it cause the application server to not recognize it. So that is a real neat aspect of what the workshop does, is it provides you a lot of automated services so you don't have to write it. And in the past it used to be very difficult and error prone when you had to type it by hand. Now our next action is to go ahead and create a row set control. Now in the past it used to take quite a while to create a row set control within a JSP file. But what you can do here is it utilizes the pre-built tools that WebLogic Workshop has. So what we'll do is we'll utilize some of those and add a page flow, or in this particular set, a row set to the JSP page in order to show you some data. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a controls folder, and by doing that we'll store all of our Java controls into that area. So go ahead and highlight the Marx Furniture Web, right click, and then we're going to do a new folder. So we'll go over to New and then Folder, and we're going to type in the name Controls. Now go ahead and click OK. Now in here we're going to go ahead and right click on Controls folder, and we're going to choose New Other File Types, as you can see right here. Now this will bring up a list of files that we can create. And from here is where we're going to create our control. Now here we're going to go ahead and choose the row set control. We're going to go ahead and click Create. And in here we're going to name the control. Now in this particular case we're going to name the control inventory.jcx. Now the next item we're going to have to do is we're going to use our existing data source. Now remember, we created this one. This is called Marx Data Source. This is the one that we created. If it had not been created, we could have pressed New and gone ahead and create one for it. It would have posted it to the existing WebLogic server and created it for us. But we've already done all that initialization in a previous step. Okay, let's go ahead and press Next. Okay, now we're going to choose Query a View or a Table, and we'll choose the various view. Now we have a view already named called Furniture Inventory View, and that's the one we're going to use. So go ahead and press Next, and now what will happen is we'll get to choose the primary key in this particular one, and in this case it's SKU, SKU. So set that as the primary key, then now press Create, and WebLogic Workshop will create the necessary code and items. As you can see, it's building up a design view for it, and you can see it created two methods. One is Details, and one is Get All Furniture, and we'll go through each one of those and set it up. Now let's go into Source View so you can see what was actually created by WebLogic Workshop. And as you can see, it uses XML to define what the various elements of the table are, and it creates the necessary methods to get the data. Also notice that it uses JavaDoc to create the select statement, and tells it what type of information. Now the JC stands for Java Control, and what we're dealing with is SQL. So it tells you what it's going to do, where it's going to go, the max number of rows, and it actually generates a SQL statement for you. In the past you used to have to write that, so as you can see it does a lot of that for you. And again, the get all and the various ones, so you can see that it throws and does all the necessary elements that you need to do in order to get a row set back. Now this view we'll be using when anytime when we're creating Java controls or J2EE components. Even web services uses the same view. So there'll be a design view where you can drag and drop methods, and as you can see down here in the palette we have the ability to drag and drop a method and then create it and have it automatically generated. And off to the right are the various properties that are associated to this design view methods and what have you. So we can do a lot here without writing a single line of code. Notice our data source that we created when we created the control to begin with, and a lot of that is generated for us. Okay, now that we've created this control, we're going to generate a page flow for it. Now what WebLogic does here is it goes ahead and creates everything you need to display this data, so you're not going to write a single line of code to do this. So let's go ahead and click on the control inventory. We'll right click it and we'll see generate page flow. Go ahead and click that, and we're going to name this one, this particular page, call it inventory. Notice that WebLogic went ahead and named the controller file for you, and then go ahead and click next. Since we're not allowing any actions to create, delete, or modify, just go ahead and click create, and then what WebLogic will do is create the generated page flow for you in order for you to see it. And there you go. That was pretty quick. And this is a very, very, very neat feature of WebLogic Workshop, and that's the ability to generate a page flow and actions associated to that page flow in order for you to see the grid. Now from here, we can just run this individual page flow by itself. So let's come up here and we'll press the start button and let it run. It'll do the necessary compiling and execute the application. Now, depending on your machine speed, it may take a little bit of time in order for this to come up. The way you'll know that it's running is you'll see it over here. This will be running and give you an idea. And there you go. That is the page flow. What you have here is the ability to sort, to view individual items, to paginate. If there were more than one record, you would have the ability to page one, the second page or third page. All of this automatically created for you. So if we go in and click on the details, what will happen is a page will come up with all the details of that specific item and the ability to go back to the grid once you're done. So you go ahead and click on grid, and there you are back to it. So this used to take a long time in the past to create a grid like this. The ability to sort based on any one of these items is simply a matter of clicking it, and it resorts, as you can see, alphabetically. If I want to sort it by furniture ID, go ahead and click on that, and it'll return it back to where it was. So all of that is pre-built for you by the WebLogic Workshop, and the ability to see any of the details and whatnot. Again, like I said, this used to take a lot of time, and now with just a simple couple of clicks, WebLogic Workshop will create that for you. Now you have a self-contained inventory page that you can link up into a master page just by simply creating a link and having a link go to this particular Java page control file.